going to back off a little bit, then we're going to get back to it, back off a little bit so you guys aren't crazy. I did my best to make this actually a reasonable program, so it's not 5,000 hours and you guys are dozing off and whatnot. So let's get down to business. Let's start off. Basics of gut digestion. Okay, let's start with the very basics. All right? So here's how it works. Macronutrients, also known as food, fats, carbohydrates, and proteins drop down into the esophagus. From the esophagus, drop down into the stomach. From the stomach, it manufactures hydrochloric acid. Hydrochloric acid denatures proteins, breaks them down into the smallest constituent called amino acids. Past amino acids in the stomach, it goes past the turn right there. Ultimately, the pancreas spits out something called an amylase, which takes carbohydrates, breaks them down into glucose. From glucose, then we got amino acids and glucose coming past. Then we got our thing called the liver and the gallbladder, which spits out bile, which emulsifies fats and takes fats, converts them into fatty acids. From the glucose, the fatty acids, and the amino acids, they pass down the small intestine, get absorbed into the nutrients. All the waste products drop down into the colon, rectum, anus, and in the end, we end up with what? Who remembers the next slide? Anybody? Happy turd. Happy turd. Okay? I know it's a repeat slide, but I just couldn't help myself. I just had to put that one back in. Look at that smiling turd. Who wants a happy turd? Raise your hand.
I'd love a happy turd.
Because that's what it's all about, right? It's the inputs, all the stuff in the middle, and the outputs, right? And we want this guy smiling, and when he smiles, we're smiling on the inside and the outside. Make sense? So I did that silly, fast, and hard, but we'll walk through it real slow, okay? So, getting down to business, though, it really is important. We have to break down, okay? So, the stomach has acid, and the acid breaks down protein, okay? If you don't have enough stomach acid, you can't break down protein. If you can't break down protein, you can't make nutrients. You can't make muscle. You can't make heart. You can't do any of that. The pancreas, which is responsible for the manufacture of insulin, which manages sugar, actually secretes another thing called an amylase, which is something that breaks down sugar to glucose. And glucose is an energy source we have to use. Then we get past the liver, and the liver manufactures bile. Bile emulsifies and breaks down fats, so they become fatty acids. Once they're little enough, you can absorb them. Got it? The problem is, we may have some troubles, either neurologically from subluxation, the brain can't communicate to the pancreas, to the liver, and to the stomach, and you're not going to manufacture enough hormones. So that's the chiropractic side of the puzzle. So we got to make sure that's working. So in the short term, we may need some digestive help, some short-term bursts to make that happen. So if you are having trouble digesting fats, okay, you're going to experience some things. Okay, lower bowel bloating, 2 to 4 hours. By the way, this is in your packet. Okay, and by the way, I'm already done with this jacket. Sorry, it lasted 3 seconds. Okay, I was going to start off by actually introducing people to the concepts, because there's a lot of rookies in the room, and that's great. I love rookies. But the way it works, these are called featured products. These are things that are specific to gut check, and these are things when something makes sense. You put an X on your checkbox right here, and then when you're done, we'll walk you through the front desk. You'll pick up your supplements at a wonderful discount. Now, it's not just these products that are on sale. Everything is on sale. Now, when I'm done with this, my hope is the majority of my maintenance people that are in here are going to go, that ain't me. And they pick up their lifetime supplements at a discount. Guys, you should never pay retail. These events, everything's always on sale. So when you get protocols and things, pick them up at the events, okay? Don't buy them at retail, that's crazy. Save some money. So, helping yourself digest fat. How do you do that? Well, you got to do some things, but you're going to have trouble with greasy foods. They're going to create distress in your belly. Metallic taste in the morning. When you wake up first thing in the morning, you taste metal. That's a sign you're not digesting fats. Burping up fish oils. Somebody was talking to me about that. Who was it? Somebody, I said, freeze them. But the problem is, that a lot of people don't have a gallbladder. That's why your gallbladder super condenses that bile to emulsify the fats. So that's a common one, burping up fish oils. Okay, unexplained itching, yellow eye cast, some clay-colored stools. Occasionally, not all the time, you get those clay stools. Gallbladder removed, I said already, and dry flaky skin and hair. Now, having trouble digesting proteins, that's your hydrochloric acid. That's in the stomach. Okay, you may have things like burping and bloating. gas following meals, offensive breath. Again, that's because you're not breaking down the food in the stomach, and so the offensive breath is actually the rotting food coming out as you're breathing. Isn't that crazy? Okay? Difficult bowel movements, okay? Sense of fullness after meal. You put food in your stomach and it doesn't digest, what are you going to feel? Bloated and full right away, right? Okay? Then we've got the difficulty digesting meats and proteins. We already talked about undigested food in the stool. That would be protein. Okay? Carbs. Okay? We're having trouble with carbs. That would be vegetables, okay? And your high glycemic carbs, which you shouldn't be eating any of anyway. That'd be your grains and your rices, tortillas, fruit, bread, tortillas, pasta, anything that's grain or made of grain. Okay? All right. Trouble with roughage. Okay? That's going to be a trouble. Indigestion, 2 to 3 hours. It lasts 2 to 3 hours. You see, it gets to the stomach and everything's okay. Then as it passes around the corner where it's supposed to be, the amylases of the pancreas supposed to break the stuff down, it doesn't happen. And so it's 2 to 3 hours later you start feeling yucky. Pain under the rib cage, that's right where your pancreas, that's where that big turn is on the small intestine. Excessive passing of gas. Yes, gentlemen, this is farting, okay? This is farting. So if you're having trouble with farting, if you're waving your blankets at the end of the night when your wife comes in, okay? That's what we're talking about here, okay? So we got to make sure. So if your husband is having this trouble, make sure you pick up this supplement for him. You'll be well blessed multi-times over. Okay? Nausea, vomiting, undigested, foul-smelling, and poorly formed stool. So very loose stool, diarrhea more common. Okay? Oh, loss of appetite. Stuck one more in there. All right? So this paper is in your sheet. So I want you to look at it, and I want you to ponder. Am I having trouble with this one, or this one, or maybe it's multiple? Okay? And if that makes sense, put a check mark. I need that one. So what supplement we got? So we got to digest. The first part about gut health is we have to break down the chow. Does that make sense? I mean, it's really that simple. You got to make sure your food is small enough so that it can be absorbed. Now the challenge is if it's not absorbed, now you've got bacteria in the gut. They're going to overfeed on all that material, and now you're going to end up with real health challenges. Whether it be that irritable bowel, IBS, Crohn's, a lot of horrible stuff. Trouble digesting fat. What's our supplement? Biomin. That's meds. If you're having all those symptoms in the first column, check mark Biomin. Next, I can't digest the carbs. The carbs make my tummy sick. That was the last column. I should have put these in order, sorry. Enzymix Pro. This is going to have the amylases and all the wonderful enzymes to break down the food. Jonathan, you couldn't make it. You're here, I'm like it. Okay? Next, you can't digest proteins. That's going to be gastric acid is what I call it. I don't know how to pronounce it. There's no C in it, but that's how they say. That is basically acid to help you break down your your food. Now, ultimately, once we get the brain connected neurologically by correcting the alignment in the spine, you won't need these anymore. That makes sense to everybody? So now we got the food breaking down, and that's the beginning. But now we're going to back off a little bit, and I'm going to talk about a nice lady. Her name is Mary Sadler. I want you guys to listen to this cool story. See if I can make this work. All right. Okay, Amanda, you said I had to Alt-Tab. That was it. Is this it? Yep.
Hi, my name is Mary. I've been a patient with Dr. Ray for the last 3 years. And I want to start by showing you what I looked like when I first arrived here. I had damage to my left hip, so it was pulled up and forward. And because I never got that corrected over the years, my right shoulder kept creeping higher and higher, trying to balance my body out. Throw in 3 whiplash injuries, and my head, neck, and shoulders were rolled forward. So basically my spine was straight where it was supposed to be curved, and curved where it should have been straight. I think you can see that the physical corrections have been pretty amazing. But what you don't see is that my 45-year-old case of asthma is now completely gone. So I have no more pills and steroid inhalers to use. My chronic back pain has disappeared. My blood pressure now is at a healthy level. And my shoulders, arms, hands have regained a lot of strength. And truly, that's just the tip of the iceberg as to what recoveries I've made in the last 3 years. So I really feel if you have any health problems and you are serious about getting better, you need to come see Dr. Ray. He has the skill and the knowledge to guide you back to health. I truly feel he's added 20 healthy years to the rest of my life. He's my hero.
Cool, huh? Okay, now I want everybody to hold the applause for just a second as I stop this one more time. Go back to the PowerPoint if I can find it. There it is. And I want you to give a real round of applause. Stand up for me. Now give a round of applause for real. There she is. Did you want to talk? Coward. She called me, she sent me a text, said, "Doctor, I want to say a few words." I said, "Oh, sure, no problem." Now she said, no. Oh, okay. All right, so that sounds good. But guys, I mean, truly an amazing story. Now, I'm going to tell you something that's not on the video. Literally, she was stuck. She could not get out of her easy chair. She thought her whole life was going to be crippled and an invalid for the rest of her life. So she really, truly had an amazing story. But here's the take home, okay? Mary did some things, and she took some steps. And that's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the steps. So over here on the wall, we have 5 essentials. We all know about that. And if you don't by now as a new patient, number 1 is mind. We have to educate. You have to know information in order to move forward. But as we talk about the mind, we got to talk about the heart. Because you have to have the heart for it as well. This is a journey. Don't get frustrated. Don't give up. It will happen for you because it's happening for everybody in this room. Every day, every adjustment, every time you take a healthy step, you'll be moving in a great direction. But see, Mary applied all of the essentials. See, here's what she did. So you want results? Here's what you do. How many events have you missed?
Actually, 2 for vacations. We were all out of state.
Okay, she was out of state visiting her grandchild 3 times, and that's all she's missed in 3 years. Who can else say that? Raise your hand. Anybody else? We got 2, 3. You see, look how small the number is. Do you want the health or don't you? You want her testimonial. Do you want to be able to be on the video saying, "Dude, I did this. I am healthy." Show up for the events. She makes her adjustments. How many times have you missed an adjustment? Never. Not one adjustment has she missed. And what do you think the results are? You saw the video. Follows the lifetime eating plan. How you doing? Pretty nice. She's cheating. It's holiday, but she's doing better. Okay? And the max T3 fitness exercise, right? We got to be fit. We got to make sure we're strong there and detoxifies consistently. It's not magic. It's consistency. It's application. It's applying the principles of body health. You see, the body was built to be healthy. We just have to do what it says and listen and know the truth. And there's no answers in drugs. There's no answers in pills. There's no answers in surgery. I was just talking to a patient today, and I told her, when you get old, what is your life going to be like? Are you going to be next pill? Is it going to be the next doctor appointment? The next surgery? The next cancer treatment? Or is it going to be my next cruise? My next spoiling of my grandchildren? Or am I going camping at 100 years old with my family? Choice is yours. But you have to step and draw a line in the sand and say, I choose health. But you have to choose it. You can't, it doesn't come magical. It takes hard work. But you're doing it, and you're here, and let's continue getting better. Gut. And when we think about gut, we think about things like tummy and indigestion and all the symptoms we manifested early in that discussion. But these are surprise ones. Colds, allergies, ear infections, depression, anxiety, because there's hormones that are manufactured in your gut, and the immune system is in the gut. So if your gut ain't right, you can't fight cancer, you can't fight infections, you can't do what's necessary to get your body well. So we've got to make sure your gut's getting healthy. So how does the gut affect the brain and the brain affect the gut? Well, very simple. You got to fix your brain, rebalance your brain chemistry, increase sleep, decrease stress, and get your power turned on. Fix your gut, repair leaky gut, and rebalance your gut bacteria. So, number one, make the seminars, make your adjustments. Number two, follow the recommendations we're going to talk about today. That's how you get well. Okay? So, let's see if this video, oh, it is going to work. Yay. Who's ever seen this movie? Isn't it like the best movie ever? The Man with Two Brains? This is totally me, by the way. Listen to what he says.
When I saw how slimy the human brain was, I knew that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life.
What's the matter, Timon? I thought you liked fish.
They taste funny.
Really? It's fresh. Came right out of that tank.
You hooked my angelfish. Why do you do these terrible things?
Because I love to see those veins in your temple throb.
I'll kill you. I'll kill you. Devil woman. You'll never do this to another man.
Oh, yes, I will.
I'll do it, and I'll do it, and I'll do it again.
Would you read that back to me? I'm afraid that might make me sound pompous to your readers.
My brilliant research in brain transplantation is unsurpassed and will probably make my name live beyond eternity.
No, that's all right. Take out the probably. This makes me sound wishy-washy.
Take your hands off me, you impotent...
I get so excited when you get angry. It makes me feel so much closer to the reading of the will.
You won't get a penny. I changed my will months ago.
You son of a bitch. Well, I guess I'll just have to find me a new man to torture.
Dr. Furrier.
It's hard.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. A lot of people mispronounce it, but it sounds just the way it's spelled. H-F-U-H-R-U-H-U-R-R. That's good. You just went a little past it there. Just put the brakes on, let's see.
Doctor, I know you're quite shaken by the tragic death of your wife.
Oh, I couldn't talk about it for a long while. Time passes by and I can handle it now. Her name was Rebecca. Why?
Is Occam's having a massive heart attack? What a shame. With me so young and hot.
Pom-pom! River's run out!
I'm sorry. She was everything.
Is that her?
No. That's just a statue of her. Our gardener, Ramon, he made that for me after she... I love the way her head moves. She almost looks alive. Watch out!
Anyway, so who's seen that movie? Come on. Man with Two Brains. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. All right. So why did I play that clip? Man with Two Brains. What's that got to do with anything? Well, it's very simple. You have two brains inside your body. You have the brain and the gut brain. Look, I know this sounds crazy, baby, but I feel like we have this real connection here. Wow, they always say to trust your gut feelings, right? And so the brain and the body talk to each other. Okay, the brain and the gut. There's a direct connection. It's called the gut-brain axis. The brain sends information down to the gut, influences motility, secretions, nutrient delivery, and microbial balance. And then the gut, through the microbiota and the bacteria, actually does the communication, influencing neurotransmitters, stress, anxiety, mood, and behavior. So there's this direct connection between the gut and the brain. So if the brain's messed up, it's a fit jacked with the gut, and vice versa. And what's the connection and interface between the two? The nervous system, right? And that interface, when it's clean from a chiropractic adjustment, that makes that thing heal perfectly. So the interface, the connection between the two brains, is the nervous system, and getting a clean connection by getting adjusted. Now, one of the most critical elements to making sure your gut and gut-brain are working has to do with sleep and stress. And there's a 7-step process to making sure you manage your stress. So here's what you're going to do. You're not going to write this down, because what you're going to do is you're going to make it to the pillow fight event. Okay? Stop fighting with your pillow and start sleeping. That's coming up next month. So if they didn't get you signed up for the pillow fight event next month, sign up before you leave and get to the next event, because that's where you grow your brain. So pillow fight. Stop fighting with your pillow and get some rest. Okay? Let's talk about the second brain, your gut brain. Okay? We got to fix the two brains, because stress and poor sleep damages neurotransmitters. Serotonin, considered a natural mood stabilizer, we call it the happy hormone, right? Also aids in digestion and pooping, and dopamine is the neurotransmitter for pleasure. All right? Now, this was actually a surprise to me. Now I want you to notice something, the brain and gut connection. There's two parts to the automatic system. There's the fight or flight. Everybody's heard of that one, right? And so in the fight or flight, which is in this middle section of the body where the adrenal glands are, we don't want to be digesting during a fight. Does that make sense? So the brain will turn off the center system and fire up the vagus and the pelvic nerves during the parasympathetics to make your gut digest. So it turns on and off and on and off, and that's the intercommunication between the two. So neurotransmitters, feel-good hormones, are mostly manufactured in the gut. Serotonin, the happy hormone, 90% is manufactured in your tummy. So what do we call antidepressants? Serotonin reuptake inhibitors, SSRIs, right? That's what the medication does. But if your gut can't manufacture serotonin, what do you think you might experience? Depression and all the associated symptoms. 50% of your pleasure hormone is manufactured in your gut. So if you're not pooping and digesting and all these things we're going to chat more about, you're going to have trouble with depression, anxiety, and all the other related psychological disorders. And what's the answer? Medication or fix your gut? All right, makes sense. So these are the different signs of deficits of serotonin. Parkinson-like symptoms, literally muscle spasms. How many people go to the chiropractor with muscle spasms? Everybody? There you go. Because of lack of dopamine. Pleasure center dysfunction. Okay, you don't get pleasure from the things you used to enjoy. Right? You're not enjoying camping, you're not enjoying fishing, you don't enjoy your family, you don't enjoy the football game anymore. Good for you, you're not here. Broncos, see. Anyway. Okay? So, over here, with its serotonin deficit, obsessive compulsive disorder, OCDs. Okay? And over here, suicide, aggression, susceptibility to cue triggers that can basically shoot you or shoot your friends or shoot yourself. Something we really don't want to be playing with. So your gut is very important for that. Symptoms of serotonin imbalances. Look at this. Physical changes, body temperature problems, body aches and pains, cramps, bowel and bladder issues, a smothering sensation, depressed moods, suicidal thoughts, racing, troublesome thoughts, emotional numbness, crying, angry outbursts, thoughts of escaping a circumstance or situation, where you jump on an airplane and fly to California or something. Because I know that would happen, okay? Obsessive compulsive traits such as paranoia and fear of germs. Guys, there's more germs in your body than there is cells inside your body. Stop being afraid of them. There's nothing wrong with germs. Dopamine deficiency. Mood swings, depression, anxiety, isolationist, loss of interest, issues of motivation, inability to finish tasks, drop in sex drive, forgetfulness. People with low dopamine are prone to addictive disorders. That'd be addiction to alcohol, addiction to food, addiction to sex, addiction to a lot of different things. And then you have your other extreme cases like schizophrenia and other pathologies related to dopamine deficiency. Very important that you fix your gut. Leaky gut. So what did we say? We said the macronutrients drop into the gut, become broken down, and then they get absorbed through this tiny little crack in here, this tiny little space right here. That's where food nutrients are absorbed. They're tight junctions, so only small little molecules can make it through. Now what if your hydrochloric acid is low? All this nasty pathogen and gut, all the bacteria that would have been burned up in the stomach acid, make it through. Now that makes it to the tail end. You chase it with drugs so you can feel better, which damages the gut lining even more. We then, incomplete digestion. All these food particles that should be tiny and absorbed now have to be, they're broken down by what? The unhealthy bacteria and pathogens are eating this and it's multiplying within the gut. Toxic elements that you put inside your body on purpose sometimes on accident, and other things like stress we just kind of hinted to as we relate to pillow fight. But all of these things cause a widening of the gut. So these it's called the zonulin that holds this together. But when you're exposed to all of these damaging things, the gut widens, that zonulus widens, and molecules start passing through. Be it a pathogen, be it a food particle. If it's a food particle, guess what you start developing? Food allergies. Because the immune system is located right here. So as these things start passing through, the immune system has to deal with this. And so you have a hyper-reactive immune system. It's going crazy, going ballistic, right? And so what does it do? It starts getting battle fatigue. And what do we call that? We call that autoimmunity. So the gut starts attacking food. The immune system starts attacking food. That would be a food allergy. It starts attacking your pancreas. We call that diabetes. It attacks your brain. We call that dementia, Alzheimer's, brain fog. It attacks your muscles. We call that fibromyalgia. It attacks your joints. We call that the family of the rheumatoid arthritis. And the list goes on and on. Are you following this? So how important is your gut? Are we making some points here on how important this gut is? Because all this creates an systemic inflammatory response. So this is a more graphic drawing. So these particles come down into the gut, okay? But over time, it starts to secrete various enzymes, which breaks down the endothelial cells on the inside, and you end up damaging those cells. You start firing the macrophages, which is I call them the wonka wonka wonkas, the Pac-Man, wonka 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 guys, and they start attacking you with that, called macrophages. And then you also get the natural killer cells. These are the immunoglobulins, or the antibodies, and the natural killer cells start killing you. Are you following what's happening? Our gut becomes destroyed because of all those nasty stuff we put into our body. So we end up with a cycle of trouble. The gut becomes inflamed. That causes malabsorption of nutrients. If you can't get B12 into your body, you can't manufacture red blood cells. If you can't manufacture red blood cells, you can't take in oxygen. If you can't take in oxygen, you can't generate energy. If you can't generate energy, you're going to rely on adrenals. That's adrenal fatigue, and that's a whole nother issue. You see the challenges here? You end up with magnesium, iron. Then we start getting this immune response, autoimmune response, gut food intolerances, autoimmune disease, and it just cycles around and around and around in a circle. So what can leaky gut cause? Yes. Name a disease. Hashimoto's, thyroiditis, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, irritable bowel, sciatica, nerve damage. Any pathology can be tied directly to leaky gut syndrome. So we got to fix your gut, fix your health. We got to remove and nuke the bad bugs, right? We got bad bugs in your gut. We got to get rid of them. Sugars, processed food, rancid fats, parasites, bacteria, yeast, funguses, and those irritants. And then we got to replace it with good food. Food. I know that's a hard concept for a lot of you because you go to the grocery store and buy that stuff in the box. No, the stuff that's not prepackaged and pre-made and pre-processed, or worse, the seed has been genetically modified so it's not food anymore, and yet it sits on the shelf for 6 years. Go buy a number 8 apple. Number 1 how do you know if it's a GMO product? Number 8 is in the UPC code. Boop. when you check out. Number 8 in the first position is a GMO product. Take that product and set it in your kitchen and see how long it lasts. What is food supposed to do? Break down. So what if you put a GMO apple in your body and it doesn't break down? You're integrating things that aren't going to break down. You look real good in your casket because you won't break down. But you don't want to do that. You want to use the food product. Make sense? So number 9s are your organic vegetables. So focus on fresh organic vegetables, low sugar fruits. That would be your berries, okay, and your Granny Smith apples. High lean quality protein and fats. Guys, protein and fats. Fat is not bad. The problem is the way they process our protein is bad. If you've got a cow and you put it in a pen, you inject it with estrogen so it gains more weight. Men were getting estrogen. What do you think that might do to our pleasure centers? Might cause some troubles, right? Then what happens? We feed them grain, which is sugar. We said no sugar. Then the grain has pesticides and herbicides on it, right? You see what's happening here? And all of this gets integrated into the fat, and we eat it. You say, Dr. I eat healthy. But then look at that, right? And then the chickens, they put them in cages, right? We got cage-free chickens, cage-free eggs, right? We want free-range cows with grass-fed cows. I mean, I would say my favorite line, think of Lassie. Chickens are running around the courtyard, right? And the cows over here, and all those kinds of things. But that doesn't happen anymore. It's harder and harder and harder to find good food. Okay? And then follow the advanced eating plan. Advanced eating is so simple. Portion size of organic animal product, portion size of organic vegetables. 2 times a day and 3 shake meals a day. Okay? We got to repair the damaged gut and rebalance rebalance your bacteria. We got to kill the bad stuff and put in some good stuff. So we got to remove the bad foods. Okay? All right, ready for some quizzing? Is this good for us or bad for us? Why?
Good.
Who said good? Smack him in the head. Yeah, Mr. Constipation. All right. So why is this bad? Somebody give me some insights. Fill me in.
Sugar.
Pasta. What's that made out of? Sugar. Okay. What about the spaghetti sauce, especially if you bought it in a can? Sugar and all kinds of processing. Maybe a GMO tomato. Who knows, right? And what about the meatballs? Could be grass-fed. We don't know, do we? But what else do we put in meatballs to make them stick together? Now, eggs are good as long as it's free range, right? Crackers.
Breadcrumbs.
What kind of crackers? Whole grain healthy crackers or the saltines that make it... So you see the problem with that meal? How many had this for dinner tonight? Raise your hand. Don't you dare. Okay, good or bad for me? Why? What is this? What are these things? Starches. That's the one I forgot. Starches, right? Now, what they deep fry them in? Don't know. Is oil bad for us? Yes or no? Depends. What's the good kind? Somebody belt it out.
Coconut.
Olive oil and coconut oil. Why do you not use olive oil in this process? Anybody?
Makes it too greasy.
It goes rancid at high temperatures. It destroys and denatures that. That's why you use coconut oil for cooking. Make sense? Olive oil for everything else. Okay? So